Tuesday edition of the Toyota Racing Media Availability.
Cool.
We are certainly very excited about the news that was unveiled just a short time ago that Legacy Motor Club will be joining the Toyota family, the TRD family, effective with the 2024 season. Wanted to go ahead and get started with a few questions, but as many of you know, a few ground rules before we get started. If you do have a question for one of our participants,
is it Zoom or Teams or Teams?
Everybody can mute too, if possible. That would be great. First and foremost, obviously, if you can stay muted unless you're the one asking a question or giving a response, that would be helpful. We are recording today's availability, and we will send that out immediately following the download. We will limit questions to 2 questions per session, just so we can get through everyone as quickly and effectively as possible. We are currently joined by David Wilson, Jimmie Johnson, and Maury Gallagher. At 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time, we will add Erik Jones and Noah Gragson in as well and get started with questions with those two. So with no further ado, I will I get the first question for each of our participants, and then we'll get started. David, we will kick it off with you. Probably the question that a lot of people are asking at this point. What prompted the addition of Legacy Motor Club to the Toyota and TRD family for 2024?
Yes, thank you, and good afternoon, everybody. Truly a special day for Team Toyota, and so proud to make this announcement. So humbled and grateful to be in the company of Jimmie Johnson and Maury Gallagher. I'll start by answering that question. Is it starts with the people and the people that are on this call, the reputation, character, integrity, all the values that Toyota holds dear. But for most of the media, I'm sure on this call, you've had to listen to me espouse my thoughts about where the sport is heading and what this new car has done to change the way we race. And I made a supposition before we turned the wheel in anger last year that this could be a game changer for an OEM in setting our strategy in place. And sure enough, 22, turned the sport on its head, the most unique winners in our history, I think. And it confirmed the supposition, which was that a very focused, as I call it, a rifle shot approach, which proved tremendously effective between 2015 and 21, resulting in 3 championships for Toyota. That needed to be updated, and that we needed to add quality cars to our family. And so over the better part of the year, we've been on that. It has been a plan. It wasn't reactive because we knew it was coming. And we, again, were just incredibly fortunate to have some interest and to further that interest to the point where we are today with Jimmie and with Maury.
Thank you, David. And we'll switch gears over to Jimmie and Maury. What is it about Toyota and TRD that got your attention at Legacy Motor Club to want to make the switch for 2024? I'll let either of you kick it off.
Well, it's Maury. Real quick, Toyota is a quality organization. We all know that. Chevrolet, Ford, everybody in this level of competition are good at what they do. On a personal note, I'm the youngest guy in the room when it comes to cars. As I like to joke, I'm at C. I'm not to A yet. I'll get there in a couple years. If you talked about airplanes, I could spell it all out, but I'm trying to really, get to something. But on my side of the house, with the business aspects, the competition burns deep. We here at GMS and now Legacy want to win, and Mike Bean proved that over the years with 41 truck wins, 2 championships, and the like, and we're focused on that. Chevrolet is a fabulous partner, and we could get there, I'm sure, as well. But when it comes down to this this seems to be a better move longer term for us where we're at. Having Jimmie on board has definitely been a game changer for us as well. And we consciously have gone about to improving ourselves as we could in a lot of aspects to be at the top of this sport. It's world class. So I'm very excited about the announcement. It's not that we're leaving Chevrolet. We just see an opportunity that's equal to and perhaps a little better longer term. Jimmie?
Yeah, there's not much to add to that, and so well said, Maury. But I just want to express my excitement to be a part of the Toyota family. Clearly have a long history, 30 plus years with Chevrolet, 20 of those years at Hendrick Motorsports. And what we did together will always be in the record books and something that I'll always cherish. But as Maury pointed out, strategically long term, this is a foundational piece for the club that it just really makes sense. It's something we need to do, and to have this deep alignment and partnership with Toyota, it's been a fun period of time to get to know them and really understand their passion and how much our core values truly align, and the focus and commitment we'll all have to to the years ahead and the performance we want to have on track. So thoroughly excited, and just we have a lot to still accomplish in 2023, but in 24. As we do change brands at that point in time, we'll be ready to take on the season.
Perfect. Thank you, gentlemen. We're going to go ahead and open it up to our media corps. We have a lot of questions in queue. Again, a reminder, just keep your line muted unless you're asking a question, and please keep your questions to two each time you get called on. If you have more questions, please go back in queue and we'll get to you as quickly as possible. Bob Pockrass, we will kick it off with you.
Yeah, for Jimmie, obviously a lot of chatter on social media about you kind of leaving Chevrolet, but you drove a Honda in IndyCar. So I'm curious, in your mind, had you already kind of not been maybe as connected with Chevrolet as you were maybe 3 years ago?
Racing, when you move into a series and have that opportunity to chase the best ride possible. My best opportunity in IndyCar was with Chip Ganassi Racing, and at the same time, I still drove a Cadillac in the IMSA series. So, there are deep roots there, and roots that will never change, and pride of accomplishment, friendships that are there. I'm so proud of the history books and what we all wrote together. But time marches on, and there's a moment in time here that I have with this club and with the opportunity we have as an organization that it's the foundational piece for us to grow and have success for years and years to come. So I have great excitement with what our future holds, and certainly have had conversations with the folks at Chevrolet and also with Mr. Hendrick even this morning, explaining the announcement today, and full support from my friends at Chevrolet, and full support from Mr. Hendrick. And one name I'd like to also add in, which I intended to do when we kicked this off, was full support from Richard Petty. We are all competitors at heart, and this is an opportunity to make us as competitive as possible in the future.
So what makes this move so much more foundational than what you could get from Chevrolet?
Directionally, I think that there's a lot that's unknown in the future of our sport. We're racing a new car, and frankly, I'm pretty new to the way we go racing now. When I left the sport, there still was some testing. There were other elements where teams could develop and work through stuff on their own. The way it is positioned now, it really is a function of the OEMs collecting the information, and that gets shared through the teams and through the organizations. And our deep alignment in 24 and beyond with Toyota puts us in a very strong position to control our own destiny as an organization.
Thank you, Bob. Next, we'll go to Dustin Long. Go ahead, Dustin.
Thank you. First off, I want to ask David. Hey, David, you talked to Nate Ryan in January and talked about the irons in the fire back then, and you referenced about the possibility of 9 to 10 teams in the Toyota fold. Is that something that you're looking at for 2024, or where I'm guessing, where are you in terms of expansion or or what are you looking at?
Yeah, so I seem to have come out of the new year on the gas, and I remember chatting with Nate in Daytona, and I thought all I did was just underscore what I had said before, which was that with this new car, we need to get after it. But honestly, at the time, I didn't know. I didn't know where we were. I didn't know what we were going to actually be able to get done. But we've been working on it, and I talk a lot about trying to be strategic and not reactive. This is a perfect example. What the right number is, Dustin, I don't know. I think there's room for a couple more cars potentially. I think the sweet spot is somewhere between 8 to 10 if they are quality teams and capable drivers. I think that's enough. So as it relates to 2024, you can rest assured that we are done. And our focus is on making sure that we deliver to this new partner. You all have heard me in the past talk about how accountable we feel anytime we bring a new partner into the fold. Maury and Jimmie have taken a chance on Toyota, and we're humbled by it. And now the pressure is on us to deliver. And so that's going to be the focus. And of course, it goes without saying that this has to be done without compromising the relationships and the strength that we have already established with Joe Gibbs Racing and 2311 Racing. And that's not easy to do because our resources haven't extrapolated by adding 2 more cars. We've got to do as good or better job with the same. And so this is part of why I love the sport, because you're always having to focus on how you compete and how you compete more efficiently. And there are a lot of things happening on the horizon with the sport that are going to keep us very busy as OEMs, as team owners, and all of that. So 2024, it's 8 full-time quality Cup. Camry's on track. We'll see what the future holds beyond that.
And for Jimmie, with the announcement, I know obviously still a lot more time left in this year, a lot more racing for you. But what does this do in terms of impacting Indy 500, IMSA, and might we see you in a Toyota next year?
Yeah, it is early. So to think about other projects in 24, we just simply haven't even gotten there. But I certainly keep an open ear to other opportunities that are out there for myself or for the team. But this year, highly focused on the remaining races that I have in a Chevrolet, and certainly for the 42 and 43 car and the team in general, to finish up this year as strong as possible and to do as much internal growth as we can. We have a lot of growing to do as a race team, and the twists and turns of a season always throws something new at us. So we're all hands on deck, trying to put the best cars on the track we can now. And then we'll just see what 24 brings as the year develops.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dustin. Next, we'll go to Jim Utter. Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, for David, aside from just the numbers and the expansion of the number of teams, what does it mean for Toyota to have now or will have the connections with like Maury, Jimmie Johnson, and even Richard Petty to join your presence in the NASCAR world?
Jim, the knock-on effect to not only add two cars, to add a third full-time team, but to bring partners of the caliber of the legacy, pun intended, of Jimmie and Richard. It's humbling. It really is. I would would have not have forecasted, today's outcome. But I'm also proud that we're here today, and I'm proud that this is a reflection on the way that we compete in the sport. And as Jimmie noted, the values that we have, and the similarity to theirs. So it's I believe serendipitous. I think our fans will have some fun with it. Not necessarily all thrilled with it, but I again trust that our demonstrated performance, our demonstrated respect will ultimately prevail.
And a question for Maury. You've seen probably the biggest amount of change in a relatively short period of time, first with the merger and the addition of Jimmie Johnson and now the Toyota. You kind of touched on it at the beginning, but is this all for you one direction towards getting to wins and competitiveness in the Cup Series?
That's a very good summary. I'm older now, so I've got age and wisdom, I think. But at the point I'm at in my career, I've been in sports all my life. I'm mainly a stick and ball guy, but I love competition, as you heard Jimmie mention. And being in the back of the pack is some people can live there, but that's not a place I'm willing to live. And so, bringing Jimmie on board, working with Chevrolet as much as we can. We have the rest of this year, I might add. We won last year, which I think surprised everybody. To David's point about the car is the leveling tool. Candidly, this year we're not doing as good as we could. I think some of the people that are used to being at the top are figuring out that edge. We want to be one of those people at the top. We want that edge, and we're moving down a road that I think is going to produce an ability to stand alone. And one of the things when we talked to David and Tyler in particular is we wanted to stand alone. We wanted to be our own team, and historically, most of the teams in Toyota have had Gibbs as their technical partner. We want a direct relationship with Toyota at this point, and we built the shop to do that. Mike Beam and what we've done over time, and the people that will come. It's something that I think is the best outcome for the team and gives you the best control of your future.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim. Next, we'll go to John Newby. Go ahead, John.
Thank you. My question is for David. I know you're obviously excited about reuniting with both Erik and Noah, but specifically focusing on Noah, how important was it to get him back in the family based on his driving talents and his larger-than-life personality?
Well, I'm glad someone brought up Noah and Erik, and obviously you'll have a chance to talk to them directly. We are again delighted to be reunited with both of our friends in Noah and Erik. Both of them have experienced success in their early part of their careers with Toyota, and you all have heard. You all have cornered me in the past about questioning our methodology and our investment in young drivers. And you've heard me say that we accept that we'll lose more than we'll keep. We just, we don't have the seats, and that's okay, because this is still the right thing to do, because in the process, we develop personal relationships with them and their families. Erik Jones is a very special person to Toyota, and his mother, Carol, and his sister. They, we bonded over those years together, and I love reunion stories. We were able to do it with Martin Truex Jr., and we've had tremendous success in that story. Noah is a tremendous character and has been great for our sport. He absolutely, he was brilliant last year in the Xfinity Series, and he is a talent. I love the personality, but he can wheel a race car, and that's what I love even more. And we look forward to, again, to getting them back behind the wheel of Toyotas next year.
Perfect. And then for Maury, where does this kind of change your expectations for both drivers now that they have kind of that added support from Toyota based on the talent they've shown in the past?
My expectations have always been high for these guys. Toyota, Chevrolet, they've got to take what we give them and give good feedback. But they both need to put the work in, and they do. There's just a real dedication by them and their crew chiefs and their teams to get to that winner circle. So Toyota is going to be an addition that we're really excited about. But candidly, they're already working at that high level. Can they do more? Perhaps. But our job for those two guys is to give them the best four wheels that go out on the track every week, and something that, particularly without practice and the like, when we hit the ground accurately, and we can be good and move from that 20th spot up to the top 10 spot every week. It's just such a track position business. You've got to be up front. So they're capable of doing it. We've got to give them the tools to do it with.
Perfect. Thank you all.
Thank you, John. Next, we'll go to Greg Engel. Go ahead, Greg.
Hey, guys. Jimmie, I'd like to ask you this. With the obviously with the Chevy move, you've been with Chevy all your career, and last couple of years, obviously you were running the Hondas and things. What did you feel like? Because when you were over with Chevy, you were like the superstar and winning all the races and winning the championships and things. Did you feel like maybe now that you got into this role and Chevy was there, did you feel as though maybe you got a little bit lost in the crowd, so to speak, with Chevy, and then this will give you a chance to be more in the mix, so to speak?
Well, I mean, there's no way to get around my 20 years at Hendrick and being in the catbird seat at Hendrick Motorsports. What we amassed at the 48 car and the success that we had, and kind of the sway we had, not only within the manufacturer, but within Hendrick Motorsports itself. And as I stated earlier, a lot has changed since I left the sport. New car, the way technology is distributed throughout. So it's a new game, and coming back in and just having a new lens or a clear lens, a clean sheet of paper to work from in a new capacity as an owner. I just have to look at the decisions. We have to look at the decisions we make with that respect. And, this is, again, a foundational piece for us to build off of, that to have a deep alignment, a deep partnership with the never-changing horizon in NASCAR and what's out there ahead of us. And this gives us the best opportunity we have to be successful year after year.
And thanks.
Did you have a follow-up, Greg?
Yeah, somebody muted me. I guess you had to mute everybody. Marty, for you, the truck team, how is this going to affect that?
Well, just to clarify, the truck, the GMS company, is a different company than the Legacy Group. And so this is a mouthful and drinking from a fire hose just getting to this point. So we haven't really addressed the truck series and exactly what we're going to do next year. But we have this year to finish, and again, just overall, both Cup and truck, we need to keep our head down and get that done first and foremost. But we'll be digesting what the options are as we go forward in the next month or two.
Thanks, guys. Congrats, David.
Thanks, Greg.
Thank you, Greg. Next, we'll go to Claire B. Lang. Go ahead, Claire.
Thank you. Are you good to hear me? Can you hear me? Okay, great.
Yes.
Jimmie, I don't have time to go through all the interesting things I learned when I ran into you in the garage the other day. But my question is, and we were talking about the help that you get. It's kind of like chicken before the egg or whatever. Were you not getting what you needed because you weren't the big dog? There are some that said maybe that people knew of this move and that's why you weren't getting all the stuff that you needed. You know what I'm saying? That people knew you were sniffing around with Toyota and so they weren't getting you all you needed, or was it because you were not the big dog? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to get into speculation and how that all plays out, obviously, but certainly within the framework we exist under in GM, we are a partner. We're not officially a key partner, and we acquire engines from the collaborative group, and then we also pay for a technical alliance that we have with RCR, and we've had a great relationship there. But there's no way around it. We're not in that top pecking order. We're working through RCR for the information that we receive, and an opportunity that we have in the future. We're up on equal footing with 2311 and with Joe Gibbs Racing, and that's big. That's real.
And when you agree to something like that, do you know exactly, very clearly, what you'll get? You know what I mean? Have you gone like things that you needed that will make you better as a result of being a big dog with Toyota, as opposed to one of the smaller dogs?
I'd say at this point it's unclear. I mean, we over the course of the season, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of change. We certainly have our perspective in the shoes we're walking in now, but we've not had a chance to put on the other shoes and see what that world looks like, and we won't until the end of the year. So we're excited for the future, but once again very focused on the present. And as we get into the off season, we're going to work our tails off to learn the new system, to learn all the new faces and people, and to show up in Daytona as ready as possible.
Thank you, Jimmie. Good luck. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, Claire. Next, we will take our next one from Kelly Crandall. Go ahead, Kelly.
Thank you. First for David. David, going back to your opening statement, you've talked about wanting to add cars to the Toyota family and add quality cars. I'm curious, can you share when legacy became part of the conversation, or when they kind of became a thought of an option?
I'm not going to pin a date on a calendar, Kelly. It's been a few months. Certainly anything of this magnitude for both of us takes time to make sure that each of us are making good decisions. So, but it hasn't been that long, to be clear. The remarkable thing is, from the very first conversation, I think we both had a vision as to the potential, and we just clicked. Jimmie was, to me, a garage acquaintance who we would nod at each other across the garage space. So, but I didn't have a relationship with him, and I've truly enjoyed just getting to know him. Maury and I have been friends in the garage for a couple of years now, and we've done a dance or two together about working together, and so we kind of had a head start with Maury, I feel like. But by and large, the thing came together pretty quickly.
And Maury, from your side of things, as you've talked about trying to take every step possible to improve this organization, was there a clear moment where you thought that maybe a manufacturer switch was another way to go?
It's again, as I joked earlier, I'm on C right now, so I'm not that sophisticated when it comes to understanding the nuances that go on between OEMs and teams and the like, and just being in Cup a year and a couple months. Sure, we do things at Truck that are related to the OEMs, but the substantive, the deal making that goes on and the relationships at the Cup level are very deep and wide. And so I'm a newbie learning those types of things. But as Jimmie just reiterated, particularly with today's car, trying to get every piece of information you can get and be on the front lines with that is intangible, but it's very much a belief. If you talk to any of our guys, that we've got to have the best information, and this is an information game now that's being played, particularly without testing. So Toyota is, I think, going to help us there very, very much. And so those are fundamentals that, from my point of view, that really made sense. And I think the other thing is that Toyota's the youngster in the garage. The older guys have had more maturity. We're a youngster in the garage. I think that two younger guys coming together sometimes is pretty magical as they come about and do things their own way. So I think that there's a lot of synergies for us, as we look forward to the relationship.
Thank you both.
Thanks, Kelly. Those of you who can see your screen, we've been joined also by Erik Jones and Noah Gragson. So if you have questions for them as well, feel free to jump in. Next up, we'll go to Nate Ryan. Go ahead, Nate.
Great. Thanks, Lisa. I have one for Jimmie and one for David. Jimmie, I understand that the 24 schedule for you is still fluid, so I'd ask this maybe a little bit of a different way. Does this move in alignment with Toyota make you maybe more inclined to focus more heavily on NASCAR and do less extracurricular, or is Indy 500 IMSA, I don't know, running a hypercar with Kamui at Le Mans? Like, is all that still possible for next year?
I honestly don't know at this stage. Hypercar in Le Mans with Kamui does sound quite tempting and interesting. I know my schedule for this year, which will include the Garage 56 program, and I'm obviously very excited to go and have my first attempt at Le Mans with my friends from Chevrolet and Hendrick Motorsports and NASCAR. So very excited with that. But I think, from a time commitment standpoint and being a proud co-owner of this team and being a part of this organization, my focus really is on what needs to happen for this team. And I'm happy to hold a steering wheel, and we'll certainly look at any and all opportunities to drive. But my focus really needs to be how it helps this team. And so I think I'll have to use that filter as I look at opportunities in the future, and take it from there.
Gotcha. Thanks. I appreciate that answer. And then for you, David, I know this is not the first time Toyota has had 8 teams during the Salisbury era. Like, I know in 2011 you guys had 8 teams. Then you had the Salisbury facility, but obviously things have changed dramatically. And I know I've heard you talk about the GM Tech Center. Do you anticipate having to bulk up in terms of the infrastructure that you have in North Carolina? And as part of that, can you address what Maury was saying about how they're coming in not really as a Gibbs affiliate? It's sort of different than seeing other TRD teams that way.
So the first part of that question, Nate, I think all of us in the garage as manufacturers and teams are still climbing that learning curve with this new car, and we're still trying to understand and differentiate where the performance lies at the different venues we race at. So we're all drinking through a fire hose. We're all trying to be smart and efficient about investments in technologies, because again, as I said at the outset, some of those investments that we've made in the past are no longer good ones, and we're balancing that as it relates to greater investment. Candidly, that's going to be a challenge for Toyota. I'm not able to secure incremental resource, and that's just a fact. I run under a budget like a proper business should, and it's my job, it's our job to make good decisions and to make value decisions. So we continue to try and do that, and as Maury talked about, data, software, strategic, strategy. Those are all knobs that we're turning like crazy right now, because with this new car, that's where a lot of the advantages is going to be secured. And so we've got a lot of work in front of us. To your second question, this is early days. We have broadcasted publicly, and not just to our partners, but that we were looking for to expand our footprint. So certainly conceptually, JGR 2311 had a good idea that we were going to be adding a partner. Exactly how that family works together remains to be seen. I am a huge proponent of centralizing our resource and making sure that all of our partners have the tools that they need, and trying to build a cohesive and a cooperative feel across the teams. And that's a tough thing to do because every organization is hyper competitive and selfish. But let's see what the future holds. I think we have to collectively be open-minded. And finally, I want to address one thing that you to your question to Jimmie. Last November, when he and Maury sat together at Phoenix and talked about this new partnership, I was honestly skeptical. I was like, okay, so Jimmie's going to put his name on it, and that's good for him. Good for him, right? And so, what I'll say and what has impressed me to no end is the level at which Jimmie is committed to this organization and to Maury. He is working his butt off, and it's really impressive. Really impressive. It's given us the confidence that he and Maury are going to continue to build to get better, and that they're the right partners for Toyota.
Great, thanks. Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you, Nate. Before we dive into more media questions, I did want to give Erik and Noah a chance to chat with all of you. We'll ask the same question. Erik, maybe you can start, but I guess how do you feel about coming back to the Toyota family after a few years, and how do you feel about the announcement from today?
Yeah, I think it's good to get it out there, right? I think the speculation was kind of starting to creep in, and so it's nice to have things announced and have it out. But it's going to be good. I'm looking forward to the partnership, and obviously spent 7 years, I guess, with Toyota through the Truck Series, Xfinity, and 3 years in Cup. So feel like this change for me won't be much of a change. It's going to be really going and working with a lot of people I know pretty well and work with for a lot of years. So I'm excited about it. For me going in, I guess I kind of already know, Toyota's commitment and how things work and how things run. And, it makes me excited as a driver, just knowing going in, I think some of the resources we're going to have going forward to continue to build the program. It's been fun for me with the 43 car, 3 years now, and I've seen enough changes in 3 years. I think we're ready to settle in and really, start to build the program that we want to see.
Noah, your thoughts?
I'm excited. I think the main thing to me is, when I came over here about mid-season last year and met with Maury and Mike Beam, and Maury told me, we want to do this, and we want to do it right, and we want to do it quick. And you hear that from time to time, but really to touch on what David said is, these guys are involved and they're making moves and they're making stuff happen. And with that being said, seeing Maury's vision to bring Jimmie in and just the steps that they've been putting into place, so far in the short time coming has been really exciting to see. And this is another step of this journey, and I'm excited to be a part of it. I'm excited to get back into Toyota, like Erik mentioned. I know a little bit. I was in the KBM stable with Toyota in the Truck Series, so might not know the full extent of what it's like in the Cup Series, but I know that Toyota truly is a family, and still have stayed in touch with you guys throughout the years. And so with that being said, it's really exciting to me to see the steps that are being put in place. And like Maury said when we first met, we want to do this, we want to do it right, and we want to be competitive. And I know he doesn't probably like me saying this, but he said, man, I'm getting old. I don't have a lot of years left, and I want to get these things winning on the racetrack. And I don't think you're very old, Maury, by the way. You look great to me, but at the same time, it's definitely exciting to be able to take another step in the performance side and try to get to winning.
No, you're my new PR guy.
That blue shirt.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, we'll continue on with some more media questions. We've got about 20 minutes left. Logan Morris, go ahead. You're next.
Yeah, Logan Morris, RacingRefresh.com. First one for Jimmie. You mentioned in the opening that this has Richard Petty's support. Do you have any other comments on what he thought during this whole process?
I'll let Maury add in as well, but I could say that he was one of our first calls. He was really excited about the opportunity and understands what it means for the club. He also joked with me saying that I think he's won 7 different manufacturers over the years, and he needs one with Toyota. So I think it's probably been all the manufacturers that have competed in NASCAR, and he's missing one. And he wants fast cars, and I think he really understands the depth of this relationship moving forward in 24.
Well, yeah, just one other set of comments. Richard, when we were doing the deal, he was pretty simple with me. He said, I want people to go to the track. I want to be up front. I want to win races. And given my age, my ability, going to the track is job one for me. So, he blesses and encourages all things that make us better. He and Dale Inman, Dale actually reminds us occasionally he has 8 wins. And they've been really top-notch supporters.
And then for Erik, what does it mean to you to bring the iconic 43 into this new era for Toyota?
Yeah, I think it's, like I mentioned, it's just been a fun ride. I mean, 3rd year in the 43 car, and, my intention initially joining the team at that time was to get back to being competitive. And obviously that was a very different organization than what we're looking at these days. But, getting back to victory lane last year, been a handful of years since the 43 car won a race, and that was priority number 1 for me and I think all of us over here. And then this year, continuing to grow that into bringing Jimmie on, and now in a legacy motor club. I think the history of the 43 is obviously important, but I think the future is shining pretty bright as well for it. I wanted to come in and kind of make my own chapter in the 43, right? I mean, obviously, Richard's had quite a run of his own in the 43 car, but I'd like to make a nice mark on here as well over the next course of my career, which, has quite a few years left, I hope. So I'm excited about it. I think we're joining up with a great group in Toyota, and I really think it's going to help us take the next step that our whole group has been looking to make.
Thanks for your question, Logan. Next we'll go to Rob. Go ahead, Rob.
Thanks so much. My questions are for Erik and for Noah. Obviously you guys have had the previous TRD relationship. You talked about the excitement of coming back to it, but as somewhat older, later 20-something drivers after racing in that banner as teenagers, what are some of the things you're looking forward to implementing as Toyota drivers starting in 2024?
You want me to go or yeah?
I'll go. Yeah, I'm excited. When I was racing in the truck series with KBM in 2017 and 2018, we had gone out to Texas and visited TCU's campus and their sports athletic trainers and nutritionists and whatnot. And it was really the early parts of what Toyota and TRD and the driver development side was just getting into with the gym process and just the out of the race car preparation, going to the racetrack and being physically fit and whatnot. And so unfortunately, I didn't get to experience. I was really in the very beginning of that and didn't get to experience fully what it is today. So I think that's one of the things that I'm most excited for off track is to see what their performance center looks like and to get to work there. And then on top of it, it's exciting times with strangers that became family over at Toyota throughout my time over there, and still have relationships with the folks at Toyota that we see every weekend. So there hasn't been any love lost throughout the past few years in the meantime, but at the same time, it's exciting to see where this relationship's going to go and what we can build on.
Yeah, I mean, for me, coming back, it's been 3 years now, I feel like I'm just a lot, probably more well-rounded driver, going through and learning in my first, it was interesting, my first 3 years in Cup, I felt like I learned a lot, but I feel like I've learned, almost more in the last 3 years than I did in the first 3. And just as far as working with, teams and different people and different manufacturers now, and kind of the process of working through on the race cars, I'm just excited to come back and kind of utilize that to its full advantage. I felt like as a young guy coming into Cup, I didn't always know how to take advantage of everything and the resources that were available to me. And kind of going through these years now and just learning as a person and as a driver, I think the resources will be able to be much more taken advantage of, at least on my end. So I'm excited about that. Like I said, just it's crazy how much you learn year to year, but I think in the last 3, I feel like I've become a lot more well-rounded.
Appreciate you guys. Have a good one.
Thank you, Rob. Next, we'll go to David Hoffman. Go ahead, David.
Thanks, Lisa. For Maury and Jimmie, just moving forward, how do you balance both preparing for that change, but also making sure you're putting your best foot forward the rest of the year?
Well, it's a big effort. As Jimmie mentioned earlier, there's been a lot of change running through our shop, and these administrative things, candidly, are distractive from the competition. You can see these 2 drivers aren't exactly working on Kansas this week right now. So we want to put this behind us. It's an important day, an important announcement, but back to the grind, as they say, and we've got 28 races left to do. So the big season left, and we want to be moving up the pecking order and being the best we can in those remaining races.
Yeah, I don't have much to add. I think from a strategic standpoint, we'll try to work at executive level and try to identify areas that we can continue to improve as a team this year, regardless of what's in the future for us. We're a growing race team, and there's certainly a lot going on here with our ambition to be in victory lane and our core group of folks on the competition side. So we're happy to have this announcement today, and I think that's part of why it's happening so early, is just so that we can get it out there. We know that come November, December, whatever it is, we'll transition. But let's get this out in the open. Let's pull the cover off. Let's get back to work. We go back to being competitors once we hang up from this call from a Chevrolet to TRD standpoint. So we're focused on being the best team we can be this year, and then obviously excited about 24 and beyond.
And one final one for you, Jimmie, just from a competitor standpoint, what's impressed you with Toyota over the years as you've seen them enter into the sport in 08 or 07, 08, and then get to where they are today?
Yeah, racing against them through the years as I did, I was always so impressed with their focused approach, and with fewer cars on track, how much success they had, and getting to understand their mindset a bit more now through this process. The intention behind all of that, the decisions they make, how well thought out every decision to move made, the consideration that goes into all of that. It's been a great process, and I truly respect their approach. I've certainly raced for Chevrolet for all of our years, and at Hendrick, and in a different approach in the way that we went about it. So there's not just one way to accomplish success within the sport, but with where we are as a team and where the sport is heading, I really feel like we're making a great foundational move, strategic move for us that will carry on for years to come.
Thank you.
Thank you, David. Next, we'll go to Sean. Go ahead, Sean.
David, I've got 2 questions. First one's for you. How do you plan on incorporating Jimmie into the marketing side? Will he become a Kyle Busch owner, driver type face for you guys?
Well, I think Jimmie handled that question already pretty well. We're partnered with Jimmie as an owner first and foremost, and not in a superficial manner, but as a boots on the ground guy Jimmie and Maury are at this every day. And Maury, by the way, I think you have a day job, right? So it's Jimmie's day job to continue to put the pieces in place to make that team, to build that foundation, to continue to add to that foundation. Everything on top of that is icing on the cake. But when you look at, one of the very first lessons we learned, and Maury talking about us being the new guys still, it's 20 years ago that we started in the sport, by the way, but we are still relatively the new guys. But one of the first things that we learned is a fan's opinion is going to be most influenced when it comes to the manufacturer by the drivers and the owners that we're partnered with. And I am not naive any longer. I know that this is a polarizing partnership for many of Jimmie's fans, for many of the Kings fans, right? And undoubtedly some will feel like it's a bit sacrilegious, but I'm not worried about that because I trust that over time, our demonstrated respect for this partnership, for people, and the way we carry ourselves will soften that. So again, if Jimmie decides that he'd like to run a race here and there in a Toyota Camry, I think we can make that happen, and we'd like nothing more. But first things first.
Well, thank you. Next question, Jimmie. David and Maury both have touched on your commitment to the team. Can you give us an insight on kind of your day-to-day involvement at the shop, what you do week to week?
Yeah, I'd say my focus, if I divided up the percentage of time, it's been heavily skewed towards the front office, marketing, branding, partner relations such as this. This certainly is occupied a ton of time. Our competition department, I certainly have my check-in points and I'm there and a phone call away. But our group is rock solid, and really proud of the group we have and what they've been able to put together. And I know we've had some tough races this year and haven't been able to really show our potential, but there's a lot of racing left, and we'll continue to build on some recent really good runs and finishes for the company. But again, it's been more front office than competition, and it's funny because when I was the driver, I really didn't pay much attention to the front office what went on there. But over the last few years in my journey, leaving Hendrick Motorsports, going into IndyCar, there's something there that I was able to see the other side and how exhilarating it is, how rewarding it is. And, learning along the way. Maury's, he won't admit to it, but I love drafting him and learning from him through this process. It's been a great journey, and I'll continue to put in the time. I'm a competitor at heart, and I'm here to win, and I'll do what it takes to win.
Well, thank you guys. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. We're going to try to get through these last few folks here, so bear with me. Mitchell, go ahead with your question.
Bouncing off of David's comments, Jimmie, I'm sure that you're also aware that there's a portion of the fan base that not only cares about their driver, but what their driver drives. Just wondering if you had any message for any of your fans that might be upset about this move.
I first and foremost appreciate them for being a fan and for being a passionate fan. And I think we all have spoken to it different ways on the call today. And we know this is polarizing. I've had 31, 32 years of being a Chevrolet driver. They took a chance on me when I was 15 years old, bouncing around in the stadiums of Southern California in a little buggy, and put me into one of their trucks, and then desert, ASA, Busch, Cup, some IMSA stuff. So I mean, I certainly understand that, but I think over time, as David alluded to, hopefully those feelings will soften. You know, we'll continue to forge ahead and make performance our North Star. And you know, hopefully fans will soften over time if it has upset them, and they'll jump on board.
And for Noah, as someone who's new to the Cup Series, how much of a relief is it to know this early in the season that not only you know what you're doing next season, but you don't have to worry about switching teams next season?
Well, my main focus is I'm pretty day-to-day focused, I would say, and yeah, it's always in the back of your mind what you're doing next year, you know, what it's looking like. But for me personally, it's you know, focused on Kansas this week, and yeah, we're getting through today, but my main focus is the next race and how I could be best prepared. So I try not to look too far into the future. We have a lot of great people around, you know, no matter if it's Legacy Motor Club or, you know, people directly involved with myself, but we have great people that are in place and kind of worrying about the bigger picture. My job is to go out there and do the best job possible that I can do for my team and be the best driver and be the most prepared. So with that being said, it's great to get, you know, this out there, but I don't know if it has weighed too heavily on me one way or another. I haven't put a ton of thought into, you know, what it means or what people are going to think, the what ifs. That doesn't really run through my head. But for me, it's about performance and trying to be the best driver possible throughout the week.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Mitchell. Next we'll go to Davey. Go ahead, Davey.
Thanks, Lisa. Hey, gentlemen. David, I'm curious for you. You know, you've spoken in the past about how being the organization manufacturer you are, losing drivers of Erik and Noah's caliber in the past, that's unfortunately kind of just part of the business. Did you ever think that you'd be in a position to get them back into the fold? And if so, you know, how did you think you would make that happen?
So, Davey, I wouldn't say that I forecasted that both or either Erik or Noah would be driving a Toyota again. What I knew in my heart is, given the opportunity and the circumstance to drive a Toyota again, that they would be happy. And again, this comes back to what I think is most important in our driver development program, and that is that we take a tremendous personal responsibility in those relationships, and the fact that we have some influence on them. We take that very seriously, and in the course of that, you develop relationships, and I you know, subscribe to you know, karma, if you will, and that you know, good things happen with that, and you have to be careful in this garage, because in the end it's a pretty small garage, and this is just again a feel-good story from my perspective, from Toyota's perspective, to have two tremendous people back in the family.
Thank you. And then for Noah and Erik, I guess a two-parter. Do you agree with what David said there in terms of, if the opportunity was and is presented to you guys, that you do and would welcome it? And did you guys think that you would be back in the Toyota fold, you know, I guess all things considered, pretty early into both of your guys' Cup Series careers?
I mean, yeah, for me, you know, I probably look at things a lot differently than some guys, especially drivers. But you know, my initial leaving from JGR, you know, I didn't really feel any animosity in any way to them or Toyota or, you know, anyone involved. For me, it was business, and that's, you know, kind of the world that I grew up in, is that side of things. So there was no hard feelings for me. And you know, when I initially heard about the opportunity of, you know, earlier this year, maybe coming back to Toyota, you know, I was excited about it because it gave a path forward. And for me, I felt like we were reaching our limitations where we were and kind of what we could do for the future. And I have a lot of, unmet goals in the Cup Series at this point. And I thought the news for me, Toyota just gave a path to meet those goals. And so, yeah, I was more than happy to welcome that news in and come back in. And like I said earlier, the relationships are already there. So the transition is easy and smooth, going forward for me. So I'm definitely excited about it. There's a lot of season left this year that, I hope we finish out strong and can win a couple here, and then hopefully go on to next year and have a really strong season going forward.
For me, it's about the relationships that you build with people and over time, going from the Truck Series with Toyota and then it wasn't the right fit for me, and I didn't have any sour thoughts in my mind or anything of not driving a Toyota in the Xfinity Series over the past couple of years, but just the fit wasn't there, the timing wasn't right in that sense, and but I'm excited for the future because of the people. The people are really what brings my level of excitement to this is because of the relationships that we built over the years. And even when we were racing in the Chevrolets and I was at Junior Motorsports, I would still text, different folks from Toyota all the time and still carry on those relationships. And like Erik mentioned, it's business at the end of the day. And we feel like, this opportunity with Toyota is, a great opportunity for our team, for us drivers. And like Erik was saying, we still have a lot of goals that we want to accomplish, and we feel like the timing is right, at least for myself personally. So I'm excited to be back in the Toyota family, and I think the timing's there.
Great. Thank you, guys. Appreciate your time.
Thanks, Davey.
Thanks, Davey.
We're going to go ahead and wrap up. Dustin Long is in queue, and Dustin, you've got our last question.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Lisa. I have one for David, one for Jimmie. Jimmie, 6 months ago, you're in front of us at Phoenix being introduced in this new role. To today, a lot has certainly happened, and I'm curious, at the beginning of this process, once you signed on the dotted line, once the announcement was made, how does this compare to what you envisioned of the pace, what needed to be done, and the process that would be taking place, this journey that you'd be embarking on? Because certainly it seems like a lot of things have happened pretty quickly.
Yeah, I mean, it really has moved quickly. And when Maury and I sat in that room in November, I didn't think we'd be sitting here today. I mean, that wasn't just wasn't in the cards. We weren't having those conversations, and our path forward looked a lot different. What was the same was our commitment to each other between Maury and I, that we wanted to build a winning organization, and we needed to pull our boots up and get to work and figure out how to expand on the great year that they had in 22 and hit 23 running. So a lot has happened. It's been a very busy start to the season. Maury kind of alluded to it as well, that the core product going racing, this takes away to some degree focus in different areas, and we're thankful to be able to announce so early and really focus on finishing up 23 as strong as we can. It's in everyone's best interest too. So but it's been fast paced, and this is one chapter in that fast pace, and we know that there are many more to come, and we're gearing up and getting ready for it.
Thank you. And David, talk more about this relationship with the team, with the OEM, as opposed to being aligned with the team, maybe more the traditional model we've seen in the sport. How, as an OEM, do you have to reimagine what you guys are doing, and how are you changing, whether it's simple things as hiring more engineers or reallocating resources? What are the things that you're having to do in a big picture sense, and in some specific cases of reimagining the OEM role, and especially with this decision announcement today?
Yeah, that's a pretty open-ended question, Dustin, and it's what keeps me up. A lot of what keeps me up at night because we're arguably in the midst, at the beginning of an era that is unprecedented in just how dynamic the competition is and the field is. And talking earlier about, just trying to discern between a value investment and not, and keeping an eye open towards the future and changes coming, that we're still, excuse me. Am I still there? Yeah,
you're
sorry
still-
about that. My phone was ringing. But just again, doing the best we can to make good decisions. We don't have all the answers, and but this is what makes this sport as fun as it is, because while our playground arguably has contracted, every point of differentiation becomes that much more important. The value and the importance of our drivers has never been greater, and the value, the work that we put into helping them prepare outside of the race car, as Noah referred to, is at an unprecedented level, and that's what I love, because we're doing some things I think that the sport hasn't seen, and we're learning some things, in terms of the connection between the physiology and the psychology that's required to be competitive, and I can't wait to, after the end of the season, to get both Noah and Erik right in the middle of that, and help them. But it's a moving target. There's no question about it.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Dustin. Thank you, gentlemen, for sticking around a few minutes over. Thank you to all of our media members that joined us today. As we mentioned before, there will be a recording of this that we will share out once it is available and downloaded. Maury, Jimmie, David, Erik, and Noah, congratulations on today. And now we'll all head off to Kansas. As Maury and David said, and Jimmie, will be competitors yet again. But looking forward to 2024, and thank you all so much for your time.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.